There we go. And can y'all just go ahead and start, I guess, left to right? I don't know if that's your left, my right, whichever way, and spell and pronounce your first and last names, and then you guys' role in yesterday's mission.
Okay. Vince Nyman, VINCENEIMAN, the rescue swimmer.
Daniel Chase, DANIEL, Chase, CHASE, and then a pilot.
And Christopher Collins, CHRISTOPHER, COLLINS, as a flight mechanic.
James Connor, JAMESCONNER. I'm a pilot.
Okay. So how did you guys, I guess, end up on yesterday's mission? You just got called in, or how did that happen?
So we were the duty crew, came on watch Wednesday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then we cover the watch basically until 3 o'clock on Thursday, so a 24-hour period. Approximately 12:45, we received the call from our District 8 Command Center in conjunction with our Sector Houston Galveston Command Center that there was a jack rig with black smoke and 9 people on board in the Sabine Pass. And at that point, they just wanted us to kind of head up that way. So we got the crew together, talked about the weather, which was our biggest concern at that point, and changed out and basically started heading that way. Airborne pretty quick, and we started making our way there. Encountered some pretty low ceilings and visibility as we made our way to the coastline and then up towards Sabine Pass. And then while we were en route, we kind of were told a little more information about the propane and other flammable stuff that was on board, and confirmed 9 lives, and that the another helicopter that was in the area did not have any hoist capability. So we were really the only option to get those 9 people off the jack rig.
So how many is the 4 of you guys? Were there any other people in the part of the crew?
For this crew, it was just us 4 with Air Station Houston in the helicopter, and then of course we have our other units in the area. Station Sabine out there was helping out with setting up emergency personnel, and Sector, which is kind of the mission coordinator for the overall case.
Is that normal to kind of have like the? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
That is completely, yeah, that is normal. So when we stand the 24-hour watch, it's basically an entire team. It's not just one unit. You got small boat stations, and then you have the sector, which kind of works as like an operator, and they're the ones that coordinate each individual unit out there.
Mm-hmm. So what is, I mean, you guys are obviously like the rescue crew, but I, assume that this isn't something that you guys do every day. What do you do every day?
So every day we hold the watch. We respond to cases like this. This wasn't your normal case. It's the first time I've ever seen a jacking rig. Normally we're either going to an oil rig out into in the Gulf, or mom and pop fishing boats, cruise ships. This is the first time I've ever, I can speak for everyone, I think, from this one, that we were going to a ship that was on fire. And it was a little different, just a little more challenging as far as where we were going to pick up each, the people on the jacking rig, and then how we were going to get them off the rig safely with what was going on.
Yeah, was that, I guess, were you nervous at all, because it was a different thing that you haven't necessarily done before?
Yeah, I mean, there's always a little bit of nerves that come into it, but we train all the time. We train, and we're always talking about different situations that we might see. So I think we all had enough, although we were nervous, I think we all have enough confidence in each other's abilities that we could set the nervousness aside and just focus on the mission.
Yeah, that's a good point. When you guys are, working together all the time, your lives are pretty much in each other's hands. You got to have that kind of built-in trust, right?
And that's what we trained for. And then once we got on scene, we had a plan going into it, and then we reevaluated, we saw it. And then as a crew, we worked together to basically come up with the best solution for how to get those members off the jacking rig and lower them to safety. So once we kind of got into it, it was pretty smooth.
What were, I guess, the biggest things that you had to change when you got here?
So when we were getting close to the actual rig, there was an explosion of it looked like some we say gas
don't know what
explosion.
it
I don't know what it was, but on the northern side of the rig. Luckily, the members had kind of positioned themselves on the southern side. There was no wind that was blowing the smoke at us, so we were able to quickly locate them and then pick them up.
Mm.
But yeah, that definitely changed the gain, how quickly we needed to move, and basically as a team, like Chris was saying, working together. We train for it all the time.
I think the other change we had was where we were taking the survivors. The plan was to drop them off at another Coast Guard location with awaiting EMS personnel. But we didn't really have enough fuel and time for that. And then after the explosion, we all figured we should probably hurry up. So we actually just dropped them off to adjacent rig, and local EMS and first responders were great in adapting to that. And they were able to make it up onto that rig and assist the survivors once we dropped them off. And then every subsequent hoist, they were there waiting to take them into their custody or into their care.
So everybody wants to know about the guy, dangling from the string outside the helicopter and pulling the survivors back in.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that. Is that something, how do you prepare for that? How often have you had to do that? How often do you have to do that? Tell us what we want to know.
This was definitely a way different case. Most of the time you're going to be taking someone off a cruise ship for medical needs or out of the water. So being that high off being 150 feet up, hoisting, plus a giant fire going and guys really looking to get off the rig, that definitely was way different than anything I've seen in my years of being a rescue swimmer. But when it comes down to it, you just adapt and get the job done. Where those guys kind of last resort, so you just kind of move in and get it done.
How long have you been a rescue swimmer?
I've been a rescue swimmer for 10 years now.
And this was your first time diving into a fire?
Yep, first fire and being out of this experience, that's for sure.
Yeah, what was
Very
that like?
It was definitely, especially after the initial explosion, though, just a concern of additional explosions and if the survivors were in a safe area or that area could change. Just dealing with the survivors gives you a different outlook at what was really going on. You could really tell these guys were ready to go off that rig, and major concerns with the fire and the height and just all new mission. So
I think in retrospect, the part that made this case a little different is we didn't know if there was going to be more explosions. We didn't know what the fire was going to do. So as a team, we're training outside of duty to make sure that we can respond to this, but it adds a little pressure on the outside and we have to be able to trust each other. That's what we did.
Yeah, and were you guys preparing? You didn't know if there were going to be any more explosions. Did you have a plan if there were going to be any more explosions?
Yeah, we typically prepare in the event we lose an engine or something, outside the aircraft could happen. So we had an escape route kind of planned if needed. But beyond that, we just sort of try and get it done as quickly as possible.
Kind of hope there's no more explosions.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you guys are kind of the heroes of the day yesterday. Do you consider yourselves heroes?
I think it's just part of the job. It might look like that from the outside, but it's just what we do.
Yeah, I think the right answer to that is everybody at this air station trains to do exactly what we did. We have 16 pilots, 70 flight mechanics, and 8 rescue swimmers. And the Coast Guard prides itself on standardization. You could have put any combination thereof in that aircraft, and I'm confident Air Station Houston would have responded just the same.
I would say additionally, the other units in the area too were a huge factor in this, giving us information that we needed to get in there, and then providing basically a safe route for emergency EMS, and basically setting us up for success.
Would you do anything differently if you had the same situation again?
We kind of talked about it as a crew, and we're very satisfied on how everything worked, and just we flowed really well together. And I think
Yeah, I think the Coast Guard's cool, and then a lot of our missions, we have some ideas of what we're getting into, but they're usually quite a bit different than what we see when we get on scene. And that was pretty true yesterday as well. We did have a good idea, but specifics were hazy, and then we get on scene. Then we come up with our real plan. We executed the plan, I'd say, to a T. And in hindsight, I don't know if we would have changed it. It really was about as efficient as we possibly could have been.
Yeah. Did you get any, when you got the guys off the rig, did you get any kind of like, you guys are awesome, thanks so much, thanks for not letting me burn and die?
I think those guys were just kind of in shock. They kind of ran out from the helicopter. Just being in the area of a helicopter for a first timer is kind of a overload, plus coming down from a fire. And so yeah, they were kind of freaked out and very, very grateful, but they were ready to get away from us.
All right, well, that's all the questions I had. Is there anything else that either one of you guys wanted to mention about yesterday or anything?
Anything else?
That about covers it. All right, well, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna go ahead and
Yeah.
stop.
Thank you.
Thank you.